1492. As Christopher Columbus's ships became a small dot on the horizon, the Taino natives standing on the shore could not fully understand what they were seeing. But that moment sealed the fate of millions of people. Yet this continent had long been inhabited. Centuries before the Western powers set foot on it, the vast lands of America were the homeland of Native Americans. The first European contact occurred when Viking sailors reached parts of present-day Greenland and Canada in the 10th century. But the fierce resistance of the indigenous people repelled the Scandinavian settlers. The continent breathed freely again for the next 4 centuries. No one came. No one forced their way in. That was, until the morning of August 1492. The Genoese navigator Christopher Columbus, with the support of the Crown of Castile, set sail on the open sea with 3 ships to reach India. After a long and arduous journey, he set foot on land on October 12th. But this was not India. It was the Bahamas. Columbus did not know this. Perhaps he never learned. When he returned to Spain in 1493, he brought a few natives with him. He told them what he had done, and Europe's ears pricked up. As the news spread, other European powers took action. Columbus reached the Bahamas, Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, and Cuba during his 2 voyages between 1492 and 1493. In 1497, John Cabot, sailing from Bristol on behalf of England, landed on the shores of North America. 1 year later, Columbus touched the coasts of South America on his 3rd voyage. The race had begun. Spain was the most ambitious runner in this race. Spain was the first European state to establish the widest colonial network from North America to the southern tip of South America, including the Caribbean islands. Santo Domingo, within the borders of present-day Dominican Republic, was founded in 1496. Then San Juan in 1508, Veracruz and Panama City in 1519 were opened for settlement. St. Augustine, founded by the Spanish in 1565, still holds the title of the oldest continuously inhabited city in the United States of America. France was not left behind. It carved out a place for itself in North America, some Caribbean islands, and a small slice of the South American coast. Portugal colonized Brazil in the early 1500s. The continent was being shared, and no one was asking permission. The fate of North America, however, was written by the hands of the English. At the dawn of the 17th century, English ships began to approach the shores. Jamestown, founded in Virginia in 1607, is considered the first permanent English colony. Then in 1620, a group of migrants departing from Plymouth, England, reached the borders of present-day Massachusetts and founded the Plymouth colony. More followed them, and then even more. By 1733, these settlements stretching along the East Coast had become a whole known as the 13 Colonies, affiliated with the British Empire. But empires have an insatiable appetite. Wars that broke out one after another in the 17th century deeply shook the European powers. England defeated its rivals in the 7 Years' War, but the price of victory was heavy. The treasury was empty. London turned its eyes to the colonies to close this gap. The Stamp Act was passed in 1765. The backlash was so severe it was quickly repealed. But the subsequent Townshend Acts of 1767 imposed new taxes on many products, including tea. The ships loaded with tea waiting in Boston Harbor suddenly became symbols. The people rebelled. The tea crates coming from the British were thrown into the waves. In 1774, representatives of the colonies gathered in Philadelphia, the First Continental Congress. Their decision was clear: a complete boycott of British goods. London read this as a declaration of war. The fuse of the War of Independence had been lit. Initially, this was an internal reckoning arising from an empire's colonial issues. But when France in 1778, Spain in 1779, and Holland in 1780 sided with the colonies, the picture changed. This was now a power struggle spanning the entire Atlantic. The colonies initially formed a regular army of 35,000 men under the command of George Washington. In addition, a reserve force of 45,000 men, consisting of farmers and state militias, was prepared. France directly dispatched 10,000 soldiers. Against these forces, The British responded with a total force of 60,000 men, including 30,000 German mercenaries, spread from Canada to Florida. The war began with the first gunshots heard at Lexington and Concord on April 19, 1775. The British had moved to destroy the rebels' ammunition depots. But American General Knox transported the captured British cannons to Boston and forced the British to abandon the city. On March 17, 1776, Boston fell into American hands. In the north, an American force under the command of General Montgomery entered Canada in the autumn of 1775 and captured Montreal. But when British reinforcements arrived, the Americans hesitated before Quebec and retreated. When London understood the seriousness of the situation, it began sending continuous reinforcements from Europe. General Howe and his brother, Admiral Richard Howe, landed in New York. They offered amnesty to the rebels, surrender, and you will be pardoned. But the Americans rejected this offer and officially declared their independence on July 4, 1776. Upon this, General Howe took action. On August 27, he routed Washington's forces. Washington retreated north. Howe followed him and defeated the army once more at White Plains on October 28. Then British forces under Cornwallis advanced after Washington along New Jersey to the east of the Delaware River and prepared to spend the winter there. Washington had very little time and very few soldiers. But he acted at a moment no one expected. Christmas night, 1776. Washington crossed the Delaware River in freezing cold and raided the British headquarters in Trenton. In the first minutes of the attack, approximately 1,000 British soldiers were captured. Cornwallis, realizing he could not salvage the situation, withdrew. Washington quickly dispersed the leaderless British troops. New Jersey was once again in American hands. This victory was far more than just winning a battle. It resonated across the entire continent. People began to believe. In 1777, General Burgoyne launched a major campaign southward from Canada. On July 5th, Fort Ticonderoga fell. But the German mercenaries sent to Vermont were repulsed by the Americans. British forces approaching Saratoga were defeated twice, and the approximately 5,000-strong British army was forced to surrender. These successive defeats moved France into action. Paris, which had been secretly providing money and supplies to the colonies since 1776, now openly chose a side. In June 1778, it declared war on England. France was followed by Spain and the Netherlands joining the American side. The balance was shifting. In October 1777, the Americans launched a bold attack at Germantown and regained control of the city with 11,000 soldiers. Despite harsh winter conditions and serious supply problems, American troops also retook New Jersey from the British. British forces in the north were now trapped in and around New York. In the south, the French advanced on Savannah and Yorktown, which were held by the British. British troops stationed in Virginia were besieged by the combined forces of the American Army under Washington and French forces. After days of bloody fighting before Yorktown, on October 19, 1781, General Cornwallis could find no way out but to surrender with his 7,000-strong army. This was the last major land battle on the American continent. England, unwilling to shed more blood and economically exhausted, sat down at the negotiating table. With the 1783 Treaty of Paris, it formally recognized the independence of the 13 colonies, renouncing all rights to the territories stretching west to the Mississippi River. Canada remained in British hands. East and West Florida were ceded to Spain. And on November 25, 1783, the last British soldiers left New York. George Washington entered the city. 8 years earlier, he did not even have an army to fight with. Now, he stood at the door of a new country. Underscore. History's great turning points often do not come overnight. They accumulate, with a tea crate thrown into the sea, a river crossed at midnight, a general's final surrender. America was born just like that, drop by drop, bullet by bullet, winter by winter. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like the video for more of our content.